a modern fable, when filial piety becomes a way of life. In Eastern wisdom, there is an old proverb: a father's labor is as great as a mountain, a mother's love as boundless as a river. These words are not only poetry but also a compass for how children should treat their parents and grandparents. The story of David, a boy from a humble village, shows how living by this proverb can shape an entire life. Childhood under the care of family. David grew up in a poor countryside home, his childhood marked by the creak of a hammock and the gentle lullabies his grandmother sang at night. His father was a farmer, toiling in the fields from dawn to dusk. His mother, besides helping on the farm, took on sewing jobs to keep food on the table. Though life was hard, love was never scarce. David's grandmother often told him stories about filial piety, about how children must honor their parents. She would say, "David, trees flourish only when their roots are strong, and people thrive only when they honor their roots. To love and respect your parents and grandparents is to nurture your very foundation." David listened so often that he memorized her words, though their true meaning would not sink in until years later. When misfortune arrived. At the age of 15, David's father fell seriously ill. With little money for treatment, the family struggled day by day. His mother grew thinner from working long hours and caring for her husband at night. One evening, David saw his mother awake, washing clothes under the dim light. "Mom, why don't you rest a little?" he asked. His mother smiled, her eyes weary yet warm. "I'll rest when your father gets better." That answer pierced David's heart. He remembered his grandmother's words and made a silent vow. From that moment on, he would shoulder more responsibility to ease his parents' burden. Living by proverbs through small actions. David didn't wait until adulthood to practice filial piety. He began with small tasks: tending the animals, picking vegetables, cooking, and cleaning. At night, he apprenticed with a carpenter neighbor, hoping one day to earn money for the family. Friends often invited him to join their games, but David declined. "How can I play while my parents are struggling at home?" At first, they teased him, but eventually, they admired his determination. His sense of duty made him more mature and resilient than most boys his age. Sacrifices for family. At 18, David passed the entrance exam to a university in the city. Knowing his parents could not afford it, he decided to study while working part-time. From waiting tables to tutoring and working in factories, David accepted every job. Each month, he saved enough to send a small sum home, always including a note. "Mom, Dad, I'm grown now. Please let me take care of you." His shaky handwriting reflected both exhaustion and love. His mother wept every time she read his letters. Even in his illness, David's father managed a smile. "To have such a devoted son, I could leave this world in peace." Filial piety never grows old. After graduation, David became a civil engineer. His first paycheck was not spent on luxuries but on repairing the leaking roof of the family home. He later saved enough to take his father to the hospital and to fulfill his mother's lifelong dream of visiting relatives she had not seen in decades. He often recalled his grandmother's proverb: "A tree must have roots, and water must have a source." David realized that every success he achieved was built on the sacrifices of his parents. For him, filial piety was not an obligation, it was the very essence of happiness. Passing the torch. David's story spread throughout the village, inspiring neighbors and friends. Yet he never considered himself exceptional, he believed he had simply done what was right. At a family gathering years later, David looked at his young son and said, "You can choose any career you want, but remember this: there is no greater achievement than honoring your parents and grandparents." The boy did not fully understand, but his eyes lit up, as though the seeds of a new proverb had just been planted in his heart. Conclusion. In today's modern world, where values can often become distorted, filial piety remains a timeless light. It does not always require grand gestures. Sometimes it is found in a simple question of concern, a shared meal, or a daily act of kindness. As the saying goes, filial piety is the root of human virtue. When we choose filial piety as our guiding life proverb, life becomes more meaningful, families more harmonious, and societies stronger. David's journey proves that filial piety is not merely a duty, it is a source of profound happiness. His life, guided by a proverb passed down from his grandmother, shows us that to honor our parents is to honor ourselves, our roots, and our humanity. Sparkle's filial piety, the root of happiness, the eternal proverb of life.